welcome back to the class, everyone. We have a lot of changes coming to Galaxy of Heroes here pretty quickly, and while we really need a lot more information to be able to run spreadsheets to know just how good or bad a lot of them are, there are a few things that are very likely going to be great for Galaxy of Heroes. So today, let's take some time to talk about them. Now, the one disclaimer I guess that we'll say before we jump into all of these is just because we're really honing in and focusing on the positive things that are coming with these updates doesn't mean that we are saying that there aren't any negative. I really truly believe that a lot of it's going to depend on what it actually looks like once it's implemented, and with certain track records here and there, I can't necessarily promise that it's not going to be negative. That being said, I really do want to focus on some of the positives that are coming with the most recent update. And the first one is going to be reduced dailies. I don't know how many people have actually cared about this before, but this has actually been in one of my 1 or 2 quality of life posts in the last year. This is one of the things that I mentioned. I genuinely don't enjoy doing what I would consider chore work for dailies, where I am literally going in to Squad Arena, I'm clicking a battle, and then I'm exiting out of it because I don't need to engage in this. There's no real valuable reward other than the fact of what I'm just literally doing to be able to claim whatever crystals I need to be able to finish my dailies. I'm not actually getting to interact with Jar Jar. I'm not actually getting to interact with Darth Vader in a meaningful way. And a lot of the things that are coming with or that were in those dailies are now going to be removed. And it's going to allow me to really play the parts of the game that I enjoy more, like JC and Conquest. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I actually enjoy playing through Conquest a lot of the time, and this kind of buys me my time back in a very small way. I realize 7 is still not, just 1, but it's an improvement in the right direction. Speaking of improvements in the right direction and saving time at the same time, simmed events. This is probably the most requested quality of life update that I've seen over the last couple years, both by myself, people on Discord, YouTube comments, other creators, is finally getting some of these really sluggish events into Simmable function, or having the Simmable function. Because even while a lot of them we were able to auto, or at least like babysit auto, it was a huge nuisance. Like the Galactic Legend Ultimate Journey, I know not everyone has 8 Galactic Legends, but if you do, or you have 7, or you have 6, or you have 5, it was really annoying to have to sit there and babysit your phone for like half an hour to an hour just to do an event that really should be able to be done in just a few clicks of a button, which is pretty much where we're headed now. And while the other events aren't quite as tedious as that, we still do get them quite commonly, and just not having to deal with this, especially Smuggler's Run 2. I'm so glad that we pretty much never have to do that again, or maybe one more time before this update actually kicks in. But getting those things simmed is a very positive thing, and I really don't see any negatives to it. Now, getting a little bit more niche with the rest of our positive things, one of the things that I am excited for, and I think we really should be, especially when we look at the track record for what has happened previously with this, and that is going to be flexibility when it comes to getting what we want from rewards like Galactic Challenges. Without going into a lot of detail, they're completely restructuring the Galactic Challenges, so now we don't necessarily get one giant crate at the end of the 3-day period. Rather, we're given currency to buy the exact things we need. You'll see the image here is a crate from a Galactic Challenge, and I have taken the liberty for my own roster of crossing out all the things that I don't particularly care for or need. And I realize not every single roster is in that position, but that's kind of the beauty of what is going to be happening with the new store, is we are just going to be taking that currency and buying exactly what we need. Now, CG was very transparent with us right up front, and they did tell us if you got a max crate every single time through Galactic Challenges, you are technically getting less rewards. The reason why I did this is because for me, it's going to be so much more, because it's going to cut out about half of the stuff that I didn't really even care for to begin with. So unless you were in a position, which I think this is probably a really weird Venn diagram if you are, of someone who was max creating every single time with your Jawas and your Tuskens and whatnot, and on top of that, needed every single piece of thing that was in here, then I guess that specific minority is probably at a loss. But for the vast majority of us, getting to actually pick and choose what we want, I think is going to put us much farther ahead. The reason why I think this, number one, they kind of led us in that direction, but also this is exactly what happened with the raid currency, particularly Mark 1 and 2 raid currency, where when they removed, the 3 raids that we all had running simultaneously before, we all kind of thought, oh, we're probably going to be getting cheated out of things because we're going to be getting less. And while that is technically true, we are technically getting less without or not when not having 3 or 4 raids running at the exact same time. Being able to choose the bottleneck pieces that we want goes a really long way, instead of being continually dumped on with these pieces that just don't seem to really go anywhere. I know that a lot of us out there have like 3,000 of one random thing and 12 of another, and this what they do with the raid currency, allowing us to really hone in on the things that we exactly need for whatever project we're working at for the most part, or just trying to work away at a bottleneck. It's put us massively ahead. And hey, maybe they'll be nice and they'll do something like this and there. I maybe shouldn't count on that. We probably shouldn't count on the positives because that's not really a thing yet. But at any rate, for each player being able to choose what they want, I think really will put us ahead in the long run, even if at the whole ticket price we were technically getting less than we would before, assuming you were already maxing all of those crates. Again, we'll still need to see what those getting to that amount of points actually looks like, but I think the way they have it set up with the Galactic challenges, it should work out that way. So flexibility is definitely going to be a big one. Now the next one is going to be specifically about mod and ship energy. I'm really glad they're going this direction for a few reasons. Number one, this is going to make it really easy to hit our raid tickets. For those of you who are unaware, you can have a maximum goal of 600 raid tickets per day, and as it currently stands, only Cantina and normal energy currently count towards it, which for a lot of players isn't that big of a deal because you're assuming you're just going to refresh these a couple times and you'll easily hit that 600 goal. But for some players who have a really low crystal income or are focusing on other things, that can actually be a hard goal to achieve, and they keep getting close, and it really doesn't just hurt them, it ends up hurting their guild, which that's a whole dynamic that I would just rather, it's hard enough to find a guild that fits you in the right way with the right people and the right events at the right play level, the right activity. I don't want to have to add one more criteria that, like, because you miss 60 raid tickets or 100 raid tickets, they don't like you. Like, that's just something I would rather not to have to deal with. So I'm glad that CG is essentially removing that, because as it currently stands, you don't have to refresh any of your energy at all to hit 600. These 3 energies each give over 200 a day, and this one gives 100. So I mean, you do the math, even without getting the bonus energy, even without refreshing, which you should be doing anyways, you should be easily getting to the 600. And furthermore, and this is pretty important for me specifically because I make a lot of videos on this, this is going to make hoarding easier. Because one of the greatest hurdles is a lot of the events that CG does, they'll be like, hey, on light side energy, we'll have this chirotech. On Cantina, we'll have that chirotech. And what it does is it puts us in a situation where we can only really pick one of those 2 options, because we have to leave one of those 2 energy free to be able to get our 600 raid tickets, assuming we do want to do that, and we do want to do that. Now, we really have the flexibility to go above and beyond that and look across all 4 energies. Hey, how can I hit my 600 and still manage to hoard for whatever event is coming in the best way possible? And again, this will be very roster dependent, and on top of that, it'll be very event dependent, because what is going to be a normal energy, what's going to be a Cantina, what's going to be a modern fleet, that always does change. That's not incredibly consistent, but this will help a lot of people who are playing in that way to have more flexibility and not just be stuck trying to get one specific thing and at the same time screwing over your guild. So a lot of positives there. And with the last thing that I want to talk about, it's not going to apply to that many people, but it's something that I really kind of felt quite a bit when I was going after Jar Jar. For those of you who are unaware, I got Jar Jar around on his first run, and it was a pretty tedious thing to do because I was trying to do the least amount of crystals possible. And all of you know, if you're not slow farming a character, it's going to cost you a lot of crystals. So this is what I was trying to do. Sorry to cover up your face, Jar Jar, is I had this ongoing spreadsheet where I was constantly trying to figure out the dates of when all the Gungans would come out, to figure out if I needed to get one of them through shipments, if I needed to refresh them on the node twice, if I needed to refresh them on the node once, because Jar Jar's event, once it was going to launch, it would eventually go away to come back at a later date, which I know a lot of people are waiting for his 3rd appearance right now. But one of the things that was a hindrance towards me in that time was I didn't know the dates. And I kept having to guess, I kept having to update, I kept having to make calculated decisions that could cost me crystals in the long run, because really, I wasn't super crazy about having the Gungans significantly before Jar Jar. I was trying to save my crystals. I was trying to make sure I could even do this whole thing free to play, which has a whole other story. Should have made a video on that, but we didn't. And what I'm getting at with all this is there's a little bit more, I guess, transparency is probably the word in regards to the marquee releases as to when they will be coming out. This will help, again, maybe not the vast majority of players, because I think most of the players probably aren't trying to get brand new legendaries the first time around in the most budgeted way. But for the people who are, or maybe even the second time around, this can be a helpful tool in knowing when those characters are going to come out, because we can really dial in and say, hey, if this character, we know they're coming out on the second part of the episode, because that's how all these work all the time now, then we can base what we know about crystal value on that. So it's going to help in planning a little bit. I'm not sure how much I'll actually use it, but it is something that can be leveraged by some players out there. So again, 5 really positive changes. We're going to have a lot of extra flexibility in regards to the Galactic Challenge rewards. Dailies are actually going to be reduced, which I'm quite happy about. Simming events, saving us a lot of time. The mod and fleet energy split now, so again, that'll make things easier for hoarding, and just really, you just need to participate a little bit during the day to be able to get your 600. And then finally, easier planning due to the new era structure where everything is pretty much laid out right for us at the very beginning. So those were my positive takeaways. If you saw another one that you think specifically fits for you or fits for the player base at large, let us know in the comments. And until the next time, stay awesome.